Great. So thank you everyone for joining. I hope you found the conference helpful so far. As Matt said, my name's Dan and I run Neighbourhood, which is a digital agency. And so what Matt asked me to talk about today was social media in quite a broad sense. So looking at both organic and paid social media. So we've got 20 minutes. There's quite a lot to cover. I've got some slides, so I'll share my screen now and we'll get started. So first of all, a little bit about me and a little bit about Neighbourhood. So I live in Eastbourne, which is where I'm at the moment. I'm in our offices, which are quite quiet. Everybody else is enjoying the weekend. I worked for Spring Harvest and Tier Fund for 11 years in various different roles, all around marketing and digital. So straight out of university, started my career in digital and was there for quite a period of time. And then towards the end of that time, I felt that God was calling me to start an agency that worked with other organizations and helped them with their digital channels. So that's what we do now as Neighbourhood. We're a team of 8 in total. We're located all around the country. We're a remote team. And we work with some Christian organizations of different sizes. Some you'll have heard of, some you might not have heard of. And we help them in a number of different areas. One of the main areas that we help them in is social media, whether that's organic and paid. And that's really just because of where the world is at the moment. A lot of brands and organizations aren't just investing in digital, they're specifically investing in social media and how to do it well. So we work with a lot of different organizations on that front. You'll see there I've got a QR code that links to a newsletter that I send every Friday at 8 o'clock in the morning. And in it, I include kind of broad digital wisdom, advice, things that you can try, some tips, other bits and pieces. So if you find this session helpful today, then I definitely recommend scanning that QR code. There'll be a QR code at the end of the presentation as well. Join the list. So what we're going to look at today, we're looking at the state of social media in 2024, how to get the most out of organic and paid. Now, I'm going to make an assumption of everybody who's kind of watching that you are in some way looking to grow something. You might be working for an organization and you're looking to get donations or looking to sell services or product. You might be an individual who's looking to promote a project or something that you've started yourself. And so you're looking at ways and tips and advice on how best to get the most out of social media. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with just a broad look at organic versus paid social, which is right for you. We're going to look at how to use them in combination with other digital channels, which is one of the most important parts of this. In isolation, social media can do one thing for you or something for you, but when you combine it with other digital channels, it becomes even more powerful. And then we're going to look at what you need to know to get the most out of organic social media and what you need to know in order to get the most out of paid social media. So that begs the first question of what am I talking about specifically when I say paid social and organic social? Might be obvious to some, but just to be clear, when I talk about paid social, we're talking about running paid advertising campaigns on usually Facebook and Instagram, but also TikTok, X, formerly known as Twitter, LinkedIn, etc. And so this is where you're paying money specifically to get in front of new audiences. And that can generate a lot of reach, a lot of brand awareness, a lot of web traffic, and a lot of conversions. And you'll, I'm sure, be bombarded with dozens and dozens of adverts through the day as you're scrolling and you're watching reels and stories and other things on Instagram. You'll see, obviously, the adverts that people are placing. And then when we're talking about organic social, we're talking about these owned kind of communities on Instagram, other things, where you own the handle and you're creating content, sharing it to your followers. So it's called organic social because you are the one creating that content and sharing it out. So that's how we're defining those two. Now, which one should you go for? Now, the answer is you can go with both. You can choose one or the other, depending on your situation. One helpful way of looking at it is by looking at this theory that is often applied to project management. Again, some of you might have heard of this, some of you might not have. But when you run any project, you have these three variables or factors. It can be fast, it can be good, and it can be cheap. But you can only choose two of those at a time. So if you're starting a project, whether that's, say, building a website, you want to get something designed, or you want to run a marketing project. If you want it to be good and cheap, then it can't be fast. It's going to take time. If you want it to be fast and cheap, then it's not going to be good, etc. So the reason I reference this, because when we apply that to whether to choose paid social or organic social, it kind of cuts it right down the middle here. If you want something fast and you want good results, then that's when you turn to paid social. Often you can get a campaign running up pretty quickly, and you're driving people directly to your website, directly to the point of purchase, to the point of donation, to the point of sign up, and so you're more likely to see results in a quick manner. However, with organic social, if you're in a situation where you don't have much budget, then you are looking more at organic. Now, that's going to take you longer to drive those results for a number of reasons, but that tends to be the trade-off there when choosing between organic and paid. And we'll look at the differences between those in a little bit more detail over the next few slides. But that tends to be what drives the choice the most. So to summarize that, paid social if you want quick results, if you have big budgets, and if you're selling something, and then organic social if you have time as a resource, because obviously you still have to spend the time creating good content for organic social. If you can create that content and if you're building an audience, then organic social is for you. But like I said, there might be some of you here who work for an organization and you have marketing budget and you want to invest in both of these areas. And so that very much is on the table as well. And so, as you can imagine, combining these two is really powerful, because you are both seeing results in the short term where you're paying for the advertising campaigns and you're seeing results, but you're also building for the longer term with organic social. And so as you're building that following over time, then you'll start to see the fruit of that, but you'll also be getting results in the short term. This is the next really important part of it. And now we're moving more away from the debate of organic or paid, and we're just looking at how do we get the most out of these channels in 2024. Now, this is really important because sometimes we can see marketing channels having the same features and the same outputs and the same deliverables when we use them. If we want to sell something, we just shove something up on social media, we shove something up on our email list, we shove something up on our website, news stories, we might create some videos for YouTube, and we put it all out and we think, great, that's brilliant. But it doesn't quite work like that. Actually, what you can look at is different stages of that digital journey, and then how the channels are best suited to those different stages. So what we've done here is we've plotted a number of different digital channels on this graph. And on the x-axis, it's rated by the proximity to conversion, or how close your audience is to being able to purchase or make a conversion or donate or sign up. So from left, that's where they're furthest away, and towards the right of the x-axis, that's where they're closest. Then on the y-axis, it's ability to reach new audiences. So how good are these channels at reaching beyond people who know you already? And so when you look at some of these logos and icons, you'll start to see how the different channels all work together and the dynamic that can be at play there. So we've got most of the social media channels in the top left, TikTok being the furthest top left channel. And that's because TikTok is very good at reaching new audiences. You can put a video out there and it could be seen by 1 million people. But what it's not very good at is getting those 1 million people onto your website, purchasing your items, making donations, signing up to your newsletters, etc. Because firstly, the algorithm doesn't want users to do that, but also the user psychology isn't, let's leave this platform to take action. If you picture somebody as they're flicking through TikTok, they want to see the next video. They don't want to be distracted into something else. Instagram is very similar to that. Obviously, we've got threads in the bottom left there, which we don't really need to talk about. But then as you see, you've kind of got this journey going from top left to bottom right, where you are moving through channels that start to become harder to reach new audiences, but they do put your audience closer to the point of conversion. And so what we're trying to do here, and what we're trying to explain to clients is we need these channels to be doing the job that they do best. So there's no point in trying to force TikTok to be the driving channel of your organization when it comes to sales and conversions, because it just won't happen. Same with Instagram. Because of the algorithm and because of user psychology, you're not going to sell a whole load of things on Instagram on its own. But what you might be able to do is start to move people down further and further along this channel so that they end up closer to that point of conversion. Now, when they're on your email list, far easier to email them with a clear call to action of purchase this, donate, sign up, etc. And they are more likely to be in the buying mindset than they would be if they saw that advert or saw that message on TikTok. That's why a lot of the time now you'll see Instagram channels that promote a lot of podcast content. So podcast is seen as that gateway, and you'll see it right in the middle there in that engagement phase. So you'll see people on social media trying to push people towards that podcast engagement content. And then as people listen to that engagement content, then they're pushed slightly closer to the point of conversion. The next question then in building a digital journey is how you get people from the podcast to your email list, etc. Now you'll see the anomaly there in paid social in the top right-hand corner. Now, paid social is both very close to the point of conversion. You can get a lot of people on your website very quickly, and it has a really high ability to reach new audiences. And so outside of the digital journey, it can be a very useful tool to drive conversions. But linked to what I was talking about earlier, there is the cost consideration of that. It is going to cost you money if you want to achieve both of those things at the same time. So first, we're going to look at organic social. I'm going to give you 3 tips, if you like, to succeed in 2024. The bigger picture, what you can be doing on organic social, and then we'll do the same for paid social. So organic first. Number 1 is meeting your audience's needs. So the trend has been going this way for a number of years, but in 2024, more than ever, we'll start to see Instagram and TikTok competing, not just with social media platforms, but with your streaming platforms and your entertainment companies. So you'll see more and more long form content, but also you'll see people turning to TikTok and Instagram rather than necessarily turning to a streaming service. If you've got half an hour to kill, you might find this now, but a lot of people will actually turn to Instagram to watch hundreds of small videos rather than turn to Netflix to watch a 30-minute program. Now, what that means is we're ever increasingly getting to the point where people turn to social media for their own needs, not for your brand or your organizational needs. And it's quite a difficult message, but people actually don't care about your organization. They care about how they're going to kill those 5, 10, 15 minutes on social media when they are standing in line, when they're waiting for a train, when they're on the toilet. They are looking for entertainment, they're looking for joy, they're looking for information. And so it's really important. Any of the content that you create needs to be more aligned to the audience needs than your own needs. Now, that doesn't mean suddenly going too far the other way and only posting things that are completely irrelevant to what you want to achieve. But it does mean you need to put a lot more thought into the content that you're sharing and into the messages that you're sharing. Because if you're just talking about your own organizational needs and you're just sharing about your own services, your own product, your own charity, your own community, then people are going to turn off very quickly. What you're finding is the accounts that are growing very quickly understand that you need to start talking about audience needs. Now, that might be something as simple if you are working for a Christian organization, or if you have an initiative or project that is Christian based, thinking about, okay, what's our organization about? Okay, well, it's about prayer. So rather than talking about donations to help with our main service, we'll help people engage with prayer more meaningfully in 2024. And we'll do that through creating content, through maybe starting a podcast, maybe sharing educational and informative content, etc. So that you're meeting the audience needs first. That builds up trust over time, and they're more likely to take action for you. So that's the most important thing, is meet your audience's needs first. The second thing is about beating the algorithm. So whether we like it or not, our lives are dictated by algorithms. And so if we want to play the game, we've got to play by the rules. The algorithm changes all of the time, but if we study it carefully and we follow the right Instagram accounts and read the right blogs, it will tell us how we're getting on. And so I've got some things here that we found a lot of success with in the last couple of months. I won't go through them now just because of time, but I've got a link to these slides at the end of the session, so you'll be able to have them as a PDF and look at them. But if you want to play the game, you have to understand how the algorithm works. And the big headline from the algorithm is that it wants content that keeps users on the platform for as long as possible. They want people in their apps as long as possible. So if your content enables that, then the algorithm is going to promote it. And then the final thing in organic social is that we encourage people to focus on 2 key metrics. Like I say, social media is much better at reaching new audiences. When we looked at that graph, we had TikTok and Instagram in the top left. And so, yes, we want it to drive sales and we want it to drive action. But if we're too focused on that and we're creating a whole strategy around action, we're not getting the most out of social media. So what we encourage people to do, look at monthly reach, because it shows how social media is driving your brand awareness. But then also look at the average reach per post, because that tells you a little bit about the quantity versus quality thing. So if I want to reach, if I want to double my reach, one of the things I can do is double the number of posts I'm sharing. But often that harms your overall reach because you're spamming people too much, or you're creating too much low quality content. So if you're tracking your average reach per post, which is simply taking your monthly reach, dividing it by the number of posts that you've done in that period, then you'll start to see how the quality of your content is increasing over time. So hopefully that's helpful on organic. Obviously, we've only got 20 minutes here, so I'm doing quite a high level approach. But now we're just going to do the same for paid social. So some key points when looking at paid social. As it does rule most of our lives, the algorithm is also king when it comes to paid social. The algorithm dictates what pockets of people that you're targeting, and it often dictates the success of your campaigns. So what that means is that you need money and consistency in order to feed the algorithm with information. The algorithm needs to know a lot about you, your company, your adverts, your target audience. And the way that it does that is by showing your adverts to people. Now, it is true that you can put any amount of money towards a Facebook and Instagram, TikTok campaign. So if I had £300, I could put it towards a paid social campaign. But what we actually find is that you need a spend of around £1,000 per month for 3 to 6 months to really start to get the data back for your own insights, but also for the algorithm. So there's a couple of other things on this slide. Again, I won't go through them all. And like I say, I've got a link to these slides so that you can see them after the session. So 3 components of a successful campaign. It's not just about the ads that you're running necessarily. It's also about your landing page. So if you have the best performing ads in the world and you're sending them to a rubbish website, then you're going to see really poor return. So focusing on the landing page, getting across your message really clearly, focusing on your conversion rate. So the number of conversions you have divided by your total web traffic will give you the percentage of people on your website who convert. And really learning what increases a conversion rate is important. Video is most important for paid social over graphics and carousels. And so testing video on a regular basis is kind of the key to success, chopping up your videos in different ways, trying different messaging, etc. And then finally, broad targeting. So if you know a little bit about paid social, it used to be that you could target anyone to based on their interests, age, demographics, likes, and you were very specific about the type of person that you wanted to find. Now, for a number of reasons, including GDPR and other privacy issues, you can't target to that level anymore. So what you have to do instead is go very broad and rely on the algorithm to find the right people. So this is a kind of quick visual demonstration of that. So got the 2 diagrams there, the one on the left. If the gray is who you are defining your audience to be, and you're trying to be super specific, so you're saying, I want men aged 30 to 50 who like keeping fit and go to the gym 3 times a week and are married, then you're very, very targeted in on who you want. And you might actually miss some people who would respond to your product or to your charity, etc. Whereas on the right there, if you keep it very broad, then you're more likely to get all of the people that Facebook can find and show you show your campaign and show your ads too. So you don't want to miss out on anyone. So if you keep it broad and trust the algorithm, then it usually does a good job. And then last slide on this and on the presentation, this is how the broad targeting works. So some people say, okay, well, how does the algorithm really know, particularly when we're talking about Christian organizations and Christian audiences, how does it really know that I want to find Christians? Well, the answer is it looks at a few different things. It looks at the content of your video. It watches your video to see what you're talking about, looks at the copy associated with your ad, looks at the landing page that you're sending people to, and it looks at people who are following you on Instagram and on Facebook, and it puts all of that together to build a demographic of a person. Then what it will do is it will go and show it to a small group of people that it thinks is right. And then depending on how that group of people react, it will then go and find and refine its targeting options. So in this instance, this is an ad for the Christian event Spring Harvest. So it looks at the video and it says there's a young family. They're talking about church, so it pulls out the theme of church. And we mentioned Skegness in the caption, so it knows that we're talking about people who are in traveling distance to Skegness. And then it will use that data to go and find more people like that. And then as more people respond to the advert, the algorithm gathers this data, which is why I was talking about feeding the algorithm. It gathers the data and it learns more and more and more, and its targeting becomes more and more successful. So I'm aware that was 20 minutes where we rifled through a whole kind of range. I'm pretty sure the session was 20 minutes. If nobody else, the hosts don't come back in a minute, then that's fine. We'll just maybe do some questions, or I'll talk through it some more. But the main thing really is it's your obviously your choice whether you do paid or organic. If you can combine the two, then brilliant. But organic social is all about understanding the ways in which the algorithm works. It's all about meeting the audience need, and it's about understanding that social media in 2024 is going to be brilliant at going and getting you new audiences and increasing your reach. And so leaning into that rather than trying to force it to become a kind of conversion channel is really important. And then with paid social, again, algorithm very important. Creating decent videos and testing is very important. And then the broad targeting is very important too. So like I said at the start, we've got a newsletter that's sent weekly. So do scan that, the QR code there. If you want these slides, then hopefully the QR code on the left will work to get you the slides in PDF format. And I believe the session was supposed to finish at 2:45. So I'll pause there just in case Matt comes back